Good morning, party people. So I have this really hard garden soil. I'll show you here in a second. I had a really good garden here last spring. My neighbor was kind enough to bring his tractor in and break all this up, and I had a really nice garden, lots of produce. There's a lot of nutrients in the soil, but it is hard as can be. I mean, look at this. You can't even tell there is a garden here. This hasn't even been walked on. It's just hard soil. So my neighbor, bless him, broke part of his tractor. He actually had to bring in another tractor, a much larger tractor, to break up the soil. And I added, well, I thought it was a good amount of compost and other elements. Unfortunately, it's still hard. So I wanted something a little more sustainable, a little something I could do with hand tools. So I've been experimenting with some different concepts here. So I'm a big fan of Steve Solomon's, and I decided to try one of his style of raised bed, such as it is. And I've had not a lot of luck getting that kind of great shape he has in his books. And you know, if you've seen some of David the Good's recent videos, he has these really nice, neat little borderless raised beds. This soil doesn't do that. This soil doesn't like to be shaped. It's extremely heavy. It's extremely clumpy. It's extremely rocky. I have some garlic in this bed. The garlic's doing fine. You know, any idiot can grow garlic. You don't need anything special. But look at these clods. Look at this kind of clod. I pull out tons of these every time I dig a bed. And so this was all done with a broad fork and a pointed hoe. So I had the same story with these. I made these a little more narrow. And again, like you see, like this is supposed to be dug down here, and then it just didn't turn out that way. You can't shape this soil. These are dog's going crazy. These are turnips here. I don't know how they're going to do, but I think the soil still is too hard. Let me see if I can stick a finger in it. Yeah, just okay, barely. So we'll see if we get anything but greens. And you know something else really weird is that I put seed all over this bed, and it only grows on this half. It's so weird. So anyway, had a similar thing here. I put down some cabbage seed. Excuse me. Dusty out here. I put down some cabbage seed. And of course I mixed compost and all the organic stuff and all this. And, you know, let's see. Is this any looser? Not very loose. Yeah, I can't even get a finger in there. So if I get anything out of that, I'll be very surprised. I don't have a lot of experience with fall beds. So really, I'm just kind of digging for the spring and seeing what's going to happen. This bed, you know, you saw the other beds look kind of derpy. I decided with this bed, I'm going to make it extra large, and that way they'll give me plenty of room to shape up how I want. You can see how well that turned out. Apparently, the soil is just a little too wet, and it turned into this mess. It looks like rubble, and I can't break that. Now, what people have told me to do is to cover it in organic matter, which I've done, and you see compost in there, and let it sit. And the ravages of winter, the freeze, thaw, rain, and dry will break all this up. I am extremely skeptical that's actually going to happen, because I've had this situation before, and this stuff just doesn't break down. It might as well be rock. So this was an epic fail. I will do something here, but I don't know what. Probably wait till it's dry in the spring, and I'll come through here with my wheel hoe and the cultivator tines and just break it up as much as I can and scoop out all this stuff, because I'm starting to get some ideas about how to work this soil, and I'll show you here real quick. Another, so far, not a great experiment. I just put this in so we'll see, but it's a raised bed. It's too shallow. I realize that, although I know other people who grow stuff in raised beds this shallow. This is something I just slapped together. And I figure even if it doesn't do well on its own, it's going to help the ground beneath it. I'd always take that stuff out and put it in the compost pile. So, I mean, nothing really lost here. I did plant some collards and cabbage, but you might be able to see that something's been digging in there. My nutrient layer, the layer up all the kitchen scraps, something's been digging in. I'm pretty sure I know what. Thanks to all these tracks over here. I'm pretty sure that's the deer tracks. So maybe I need to sit out here, get up early, sit out here in the morning with my bow, with my rifle. I don't know. Another way to feed myself. Does that count as baiting? I don't think it does. I don't think it does under Tennessee law. I'll have to check. So finally, this is what I think I'm going to start doing. This seems to be what the soil naturally kind of tends toward. So I took the broad fork. I just went down here. I just did one row of broad forking. And then I came through here with my wheel hoe. I should have my wheel hoe out here for the video, maybe next time. And I just straddled. So yeah, I could very easily straddle this and then push my wheel hoe through and break up the soil. And that actually did a pretty good job. Now, I did get kind of exhausted at one point because like I kept bumping into these dang clods. I mean, look at this. And someone probably tell me, oh, your soil was too wet. I'm like, well, it hadn't rained in a week and a half. I mean, this was just down deep in the soil. But we got most of it broken up. There's a little patch here in the middle that's still hard. Hopefully that will break up a bit over winter. And in the spring, I'll come through here and fork it and use the wheel hoe and get it loose again. But I think this is what I'm going to start doing. Although I may wait till it's just a little bit colder. It's like 80 degrees out now. Just come through here. I'm going to put a broad fork width between each bed for a walking path. Come here, come down here, break it with a broad fork, and then after it's broken with the broad fork, come through, till it with the wheel hoe. And then, now I know some people are like, oh, you shouldn't till. Well, the idea is I'm not going to till it much. I'm going to try to keep working in compost and just pile it up over time and work it in a bit with a fork. So hopefully I won't need a lot more tilling unless the soil compacts. I mean, that's really the key. That's really the thing I'm trying to avoid here, the soil compaction. And, you know, people tell you, oh, don't walk on it, don't do this, don't do that. The reality is it seems to just kind of compact on its own, just from its own sheer weight. So we're going to try this and see. If nothing else, I figure if I do need my neighbor to just come through and till it again with his tractor, maybe if I broad fork it all, it'll be a lot looser. And another thing I'm considering too, I've noticed the places I'm digging where I had potatoes and sweet potatoes are way looser and way more frillable than any other land. So I'm seriously considering growing nothing but sweet potatoes next year just to break up this soil. I didn't have great luck with potatoes, but I had a lot of luck with sweet potatoes. And, you know, our family can only eat some of these sweet potatoes, but, you know, I could maybe sell or trade them for other vegetables and then just use that to loosen the soil. So I'm considering that. I have some time to decide on that. But right now, if you have that sort of hard, rocky clay, that really heavy stuff that's hard to work, I do recommend, I mean, we'll see how this grows. I planted garlic in this one. We'll see how this goes, but I think this is the way to go. You try to do a big bed like this, it's just too much to deal with. You put like you do a little strip, much easier to work with, and you can straddle it to work it. It's a lot easier. And the only other alternatives I know of, if this doesn't work, is tiller/tractor, or just replace every damn thing with raised beds, because this soil is just hard. It's some of the hardest soil I've ever worked with. But I'll post some updates to let you all know how this is going. Thanks for watching.